back to another lap guide video. My name's Bart, and today we will be taking the Super Formula Lights car on iRacing around the circuit of the Americas. Here's my hot lap. All right, heading down the main straight now at COTA into the first corner. One of the trickiest corners on the track. This uphill braking zone. Fantastic passing opportunity because it's so wide and because people they mess it up all the time. So first thing we want to do, right-hand side tires, get over the curb here, the red and white curb. Don't go further than this because it's a bit hard to brake if you put your right tires over the red and white. Point the car in a little bit just to give ourselves a slightly better angle. Braking reference, there's nothing in terms of boards here, which makes it quite challenging. Your best reference is the safety car line, the pit exit line right in front of us. So braking just before that and judging your distance based on that is probably your best effort, and looking up towards the apex or, kind of into that vanishing point, let's say about here. Quite a hard brake initially. The best way to explain this is going to be with telemetry, so I'll give you a look at that. All right, so looking now at some telemetry. I'll look at the data here. So, first corner, as I said, braking's quite unique here. Got to be careful with that entry curb. Braking, get it positioned, turn in a little bit, and this is our peak. So 70% brake there. Bleeding off. And this is just normal braking stuff, okay, at this point. And then all of a sudden, we've got that crest where the track goes like that. Your tires all lose grip because your car just wants to go up and the track's falling away from it, so it's not pushing into the road. Lose a bit of load on your tires, and now this is when you see. Look at my brake trace. You see a big decrease you see this this little gorge in the brake shape here, and I really decreased the brake pressure. So I made my first shift before then, decreasing the brake pressure as I go over the top of that crest, just being careful on the brakes. Down to fourth over that. Oh, sorry, I should say, yeah, down second gear there. And then you can see it after I come over the crest and the car is settled. Don't do it straight away. Don't be really juddery. Ease back onto the brake again. Because you see I've turned in. I'm now able to hit the brake a bit more just because I've got the car settled, got a bit more grip now, straight for a second, and now we're turning in. So now we're decreasing the brake. So we've got one decrease for the crest. Normal kind of brake hit, decrease. Oh, okay, we're going to come out now because we're going over the crest. Back on, now the car's settled. Now I'm turning in, so now I'm going to rotate the car and come out what's left of the brake. Important, this little bit of brake, not only does it allow you to brake a bit deeper into the corner, because you can do more braking in a later phase, The other thing that's really helpful for is it puts more weight on the front, right? If you don't do this, if you just kind of bleed off the brake and don't do much in this section, you get a lot of understeer. Whereas you go back on the brake, it pitches the car, so weight's back on the front, helps it rotate a bit. Then you can really get off the brake there, put the lock on, like we see here, down up to like 40% steering, and now I can get on the throttle straight away. So that's really what you want there. So as you see with the braking, we need to make sure we get a lot of the efficiency done before we go over the crest here. You'll come out a little bit and then you bring the braking back on again. Once the car's settled, then you're going to rotate the car here. It's always better to be slightly late at turn 1 here. I mean, okay, this goes for a lot of corners, but especially this corner. If you're a little early here and you turn in early and you hit this curb or you have to turn out, you're in big trouble, right? If you turn out, you're going to get a lot of understeer, do track launch and exit. If you hit the curb, your traction is going to be awful. So it's better to be slightly late here. You can see on this lap I get quite close to the inside curb, but if you're about half a car further left because you turned in a bit later, not a big issue really. So that makes it really tricky, right? Because I think it's a corner where you really got to attack the entry, but it's very easy to lose the car over the crest in the braking zone as well. So on the throttle, you have to be quite patient here. See, I'm quite quickly to about 70-80%, get the revs up. So we've got a lot of steering lock on. I'm going to quickly try and get the lock off as I go to full. The car's starting to move around. Just inside the track limits there, left-hand side tires stayed on the white line. All good for that. Smooth now the steering down the hill. Try and shorten the distance. Keep the car on the right-hand side. Bring the car over to this side of the track. So we want to be at the right curb as we turn in to this part of the track now, into this quick flowing section. For this left-hander, this isn't really okay, it's a turn for us, but it's not really much of a corner. This whole section that we've got coming up now, you can see, but this left, right. The main thing we're trying to do here is, because this one and this next right are quite easy in this car, the whole point of this is to try and get as far right as possible to open up this left-hander, and that's going to help you position to have the car in the correct place through this long right that's all the way at the end of this section here. First part of that is, see where this sausage curb is? We want to get behind that as well as we can. So you see, this is basically a straight for us. That's why we went all the way to the right of the previous part of the track after turn 2. Hold the car to the right to open the section up as much as possible. You can see over here, don't treat it like a corner, just treat it like a straight line almost, and then just open it up. You can see my left tires are all the way over here. I'm pointing towards this signage at this point. I'm going to turn to this right-hander, still completely flat with high downforce through here. Completely flat out now. Just get as close as you can to that sausage curb. Still flat out. Opening up this section as much as possible. You see now I'm lifting a little bit just to keep the car, try and position it to the right. Carry as much speed as possible in fifth. Careful now. Just lifting. See, we got to that widest point, preparing the section on the right-hand side, and now we're going to turn in. This is all what we've been working for. Lift as little as you can, while still staying on the inside curb and still be as close as possible to the sausage curb. Very tricky to practice this, especially in this car, because everything's coming at such a high speed. It's very, very easy to lift a bit too much, turn a bit early, and hit that sausage curb. So be very good with your positioning. Be consistent. Don't look at the sausage curb when you turn to the corner. Look at the white line or the red and white curb. And those things will help you be more consistent. But if you lift very aggressively, that can usually upset. So if you have a smoother lift but hold more throttle on for the most part, that'll help you avoid hitting that left-hand side curb. And if you hit these curbs in this car, it can completely destroy the car, pretty much, suspension and floor. So watch out for that. All right. You can see carrying a lot of speed through there. Just part throttle, trying to just position the car so we can turn the car right. You don't want to be so far pushed out to the right that your wheels are off the track, basically, because then you won't be able to make it around this right-hander. We want to be able to position the car so we're pointing kind of in line with the edge of the track here. Turning in now. Now I lift out as I go past that sausage curb, because my main aim is to try and get to the white line there. As I do, when I know I'm going to do that, okay, I downshift to fourth, get on the throttle just before that point, force the car out. At this point, how much speed can I carry while trying to open up this left as much as possible? Just carry momentum through that whole section that we just went through. It's a high-speed section. We want to use the downforce of the car, carry momentum. Small brake and T, so just touch the brake lightly. Might need a small brake, especially at first, and depending on track conditions, turn into this left-hander. Again, aim to come around the back of the sausage curb as tight as possible to that point. Get the car rotated, a little bit of throttle. Try and get as far left as possible. You can see the rubber here is a pretty good guide, but if you can get left of the rubber, not all the way to the white line necessarily, certainly getting it so your right-hand side or your left-hand side tires are past the rubber line over here. Over to the left, open as much as possible. Fourth, small brake. And what we're trying to do at this point is we're trying to prepare the exit out of this right-left coming up, okay? And what we want is to have our car as far right or as far towards this side of the track as possible. Not here. So it's not about being tight here because that doesn't help you because then you just get a shallower angle into the left hand that's coming up around here. We want to get the car more turned to the right, if that makes sense. So more towards this bit of red runoff area here. So we're trying to slow the car, get the angle right, really important in that previous section. Attack the entry of that previous left. So you're slowing down on the exit, going into this section here, pairing the car. Now, going to be a bit of a braking, a very small rub of the brake there from me, pretty much a lift, just to help get a little bit of weight onto the nose of the car. Down to third, it'd be quite a late downshift as well because that downshift is really a good, it's one of the only tools you have in that long way to turning right to kind of, if you need a bit more rotation, go to third. But the main thing for me is you should always be shifting late there because you're trying to preserve momentum, right? If you shift early to third, you're just killing speed for no reason. We're trying to just keep the speed up until we want to slow down. We only really want to slow the car down at the point we know we can kind of just pick up throttle, you know? So we're in fourth now, down to third. Now I know I can go down to third, get on the throttle. Your right-hand side tires should be over the curb, left-hand side tires on the white line using all the track here. This is the angle you should have, okay? So you should be able to go up the hill and turn left. Open up as much as possible, full throttle, before we even get past the entry curb. See, just get as close as possible to that sausage curb, actually clip it there on this lap. Smooth on the wheel. Don't let the car run out too much. Easy getting off track on that exit. Up to fourth, up to fifth. Downhill braking now. Really kind of, I don't want to say tricky because it's not fair. It's slightly challenging this hairpin, but I think it's a bit more, how should I say, it's not as difficult as it looks. I think most of the mistakes happen because of the shape of the corner. It looks quite weird. Even if we go back a bit, look at the shape of the entry. It's quite strange, right? The track deviates left. We're going right here. It's easy to get a bit confused. Do I just brake straight like that? But then if I cut back, I'm like coming back here. Or do I go in early and then I'm turning and I'm braking and I lock up and blah, blah, blah. So it's very easy to make a mistake here. I'll be really simple with you. It's a hairpin. You need a good exit. It's a very slow hairpin. But you really need to push the braking first. It's important to be late on the brakes here and patient to turn. You do not need the apex, okay? You can get near the white line, okay? You don't want to hit that apex curb. It's not going to be good for your exit. So just be straight as possible on the brakes. Let the car run deep. Rotate it. Calm the steering on the throttle. Nice and patient. All right. First thing we're going to do to open up the corner. We're in sixth now. At this first white line, start to look in a bit. So just trying to look into the corner now. Get the car. See, I'm kind of positioned diagonally, but I'm still fairly straight. We don't need to completely dive to the inside yet. I just want to focus on braking efficiency. Go as late as possible on the brakes. Braking just before the 50 board or this white line here. Brake in a straight line as possible, pointing out this way. I know it's kind of diagonal to the edge of the track. That's what we kind of... You position a little bit in. Just a little bit, turn in there. But don't do the whole dive for the apex thing. Just try and stay wide. You don't need to be here. There's no grip here anyway. We don't need to be here because then you're just making it too narrow. So pointing out somewhere in the middle of the track here. We're going to rotate the car around this point, okay, in front of us, and then we're going to get a good exit cutting back on the apex curve. Down a second. See, I was patient. I got the car stopped in second. Now I turn in. Come off the brake. I didn't worry about the apex. Okay, I've kind of made it, but I've made it a lot later. I haven't tried to dive for it early and then locked up, missing it. Look up for your exit nice and early. On the throttle, smooth. You can see smooth. On the throttle, get the steering out, okay? If you're finding you got snaps on the exit, get out of the steering, okay? And if you're still fighting the car and you're having track limit problems on the exit, because if you run the middle of the car past the middle of the red and white curb, you get a track limit. Here you get off track. If you're having problems with that, just try and brake a little bit later, okay? And or be more patient to rotate the car. Just try and give yourself a better angle on the exit rather than trying to force it all the way in on the entry. If you're going to gain time, it's not by carrying speed into that corner. It's by being patient and pushing the braking and getting a nice late point to rotate the car from. All right. So another hairpin kind of thing. This is more of a 90-degree / hairpin, bit tighter than 90-degree corner. Very similar technique, though. Only difference here is you can roll a bit more mid-corner because it's quite a wide corner. It cams a little bit towards the inside. Downhill braking. Braking reference, very easy to go deep here for some reason. I think it's the downhill braking. Braking reference is this 100. Braking just after that. Pretty late braking for me on this side. Braking only on the red and white. Again, like I said, for turn 1, don't really want to brake on the green here. Straight as possible initially. And now we're going to just kind of point the car in a bit so you can see initially on peak, dead straight on the brakes. And now I'm going to just stay on the rubber to this point, bleed off, second gear. Don't hit the higher part of the curb. This is borderline from me. Just hit this part of the curb. The reason why you don't do what we did the previous corner and you don't run a bit deeper, okay, you can get away with it for sure. But if you run a bit deeper here, the shape of the track is really like the exit cuts back on you a lot. And so what happens is if you're in a bit late here, the track feels a lot tighter and it kind of feels like you also take a lot of extra distance as well, where if you can be tight, it just helps you out a little bit. And there's not a big exit here, so you don't gain from having that massive exit speed. So you can afford to push the entry kind of into here. Attack the braking and just roll the speed in. All right. On throttle, let the car out. Again, don't run the middle of the car past the red and white. Back to the left-hand side, similar theory here. Middle of the car, pretty much on the red and white. I'd say at this point, if your right tires, they're on the white line at this point. If you go any further than this, you're definitely getting off track. Parallel with how this curve ends up. I know I was turning beforehand, but trying to be straight with this point. Don't get confused by the fact that the track's not straight. Also get to the white line early over here on the left-hand side. No excuse not to be using all the track here. Brake as straight as you can. Down from third into second gear. Patient on that gear change and not too heavy on the brakes. Very easy to lose the rear here. It's not a big deceleration zone. Just smooth, rotate the car. You're better off. This is a corner where you're definitely better being late than early, okay? Just the angle of the corner, okay? If you're in early here, clip the curb here, you're going to end up out there somewhere. Big problems. If you're in a bit late, it's much better. You get a much better angle for the section that's coming up next, and it really hurts you into the triple left, which we'll get into in a moment. All right, so late. Always want to meet the end of the sausage curb right here. That's where you want to be. On throttle, smoothing the wheel. You can see I haven't used all the track, but if I was, you'd be sliding, you're trying to fight back, you're scrubbing the wheel, you're fighting, then you're in the wrong angle here. It's not fast. Okay, it's all about, if you're going to gain time, gain it on the entry into that right. Now, preparing for this triple left. Keep the car over to the right here, next to that curb. Keep holding it right, hold it right, hold it right. So at that point, all I was trying to do was gain width for the braking to open up this corner. Now that I've done that, I'm now turning left. And this is not to actually obviously make the track wider for me on the entry. It's to get the car straighter under braking, which we'll get to in a moment. So if I slow this down for you, I'm turning. I keep turning left. I've started braking now. So braking-wise, you're braking somewhere between this curb, the end of this left apex curb, we can call it, and the start of this one over here. I'm not going to give you an exact number. It's going to be completely different based on how you exit the corner and so on. But it's going to be somewhere in that range. I'm always looking. I can tell where I'm looking. I'm looking here. That's kind of my first coordinate. So that's what I'm trying to get to. I'm trying to get past here. Run, and you're trying to run the car deep. Like your widest point is going to be pretty much around here somewhere. And you rotate the car around into the apex. So looking around to get to there. So with that in mind, I'm now trying to get the car turn in the direction I want to get it so I can be straighter on the braking to that widest point, to my turn-in point, if you want to call it that. So on the brakes, not very much initially, just slowing the car down a little bit, preparing the car as well. I don't want to stamp on the brakes and upset the rear tires. Smooth on the brakes, and now I'm coming off the lock. You see I'm coming off the steer as much as I can, trying to straight up as much as possible to help so I can hit a bit more brake pressure. If you're locking up, think, how can I get the steering lock off? You know, the tires only got a certain amount of grip. You can't be steering and braking at the same time. If you need to stop the car, you need to take some steering off. That's just a fact. Let the car run deep. Not all the way out to the right, but just deep enough here. Now we've got it slowed down to second gear. Again, a late shift just to be keep the car settled, I find is really good. Now put the lock on. Once you've reached that widest point, rotate the car. Hit the curb here, which is really good. But you need to, again, if you're early here, big problems. If you're early here, it's so easy to have a really poor exit and end up fighting the car along the on the exit. This is about as early as I would be hitting the apex here, what I would say. Any earlier than this, turning in, then you're in trouble. All right. On throttle, just about standard track limits. Left-hand side tires on the white line. Barely legal, but just about okay. Smooth. Bring the car back to the left. This is flat for us anyways. Easy flat, unless you're running like low downforce or something. We just bring it here to try and open up the corner to reduce the steering through the corner, but you don't need to be all over the entry curb. Not worth doing. Just tap the curb there to turn in. Look to, let's say, apex there-ish. And then just be smooth on the wheel. We don't need to take the extra distance out here. Stay in the camber on the right. You don't need to hug the white line. Just be smooth. Have a continuous turn. Don't go out to the right. Reduce the distance. And more importantly, have the car prepared for the second last corner. Really well prepared here, okay? So the track limit's very aggressive on this corner, and also the braking can be upset by the curb. So I'm just going to have my right-hand side tires on the curb. That's my limit, okay? Right-hand side tires, all the red and white. Braking-wise, again, references. Yeah, sorry. If you're really somebody who works a lot with hard references, we have this white line coming up on the left. That's sort of a reference. You had the light panel, sorry, I think it's a TV screen on the right as well, sort of a reference. Again, it's a bit tricky. For me, I'm just looking in the apex at this point. You can't really do much. It's a high-speed corner. You're not going to be braking for that long. Just try and look in, I would say, and you're just going to have to judge the distance based on how much you got left to go on the curb, distance to this, and where this apex point is here, and looking for that, that blind apex point, especially if you're sitting low down the car. It's very hard to see here. Soft brake, fifth gear, late shift to fourth, important. You can do this corner in fifth and be quite quick. Fourth is better. Again, it depends on the gearing, but with gearing you should be running. It'll be fourth gear and make it late. If you shift early here, you'll get a snap on the rear and you'll decelerate. Actually, usually as well, you turn in early. Like the car turns in always too well. You end up over the inside curb, and then you have track limits or moment on exit. So this corner doesn't really have a big exit, so it's more important just to carry speed through here, carry entry speed, use the aero of the car, and ideally get your left tires on the curb, but no more. If you get the floor on it, you have problems. But left tires are all good. Nice sausage curb there. Let the car run out. Again, limit is the white line there. Open up the last corner, right-hand side tires, just using all the curb for the braking here. Braking point, pretty simple. This white line here, is pretty much spot on. Braking just before that. Down to third, turning in. This is a corner where it's quite tricky because it's uphill, actually. You need to be in slightly early. You can cut the inside. You can cheat the inside curb a lot. So you'll see that here. I've got my left tires over the white line inside. Down to second. I found third. You can do it, but it bogs a lot on the exit. You got a lot of understeer. So you need second to pull out of the corner, but it's very, very loose. So just delay. See, I shifted to second super late, literally just before you get on throttle. But you can try second or third. But I really think second's near. You can see our big moment there. Second's near there on the exit. Let the car run out. Again, I wouldn't run past this point. This is pretty much the limit for track limits. Middle of the car on the red and white, it seems like for this one. Bring the car back to the left-hand side, so you don't get a track limit for staying on the runoff here. It's really aggressive, so watch out for that. And that's a lap at COTA. All right, then that brings us towards the end of the video now. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comment section below. You can also find more info about CDA setups, coaching, and more lap guides from people like myself from the Coach Dave Academy Discord link in the YouTube video description. My name is Bart. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.